Kuzampo and a very warm welcome on Dungso BBS. I'm your host, Tilayang Chundoji. And today on Dungso BBS, we will continue our talk on the autism spectrum disorder. In our last episode, we had the senior consultant psychiatrist with the Jigme Dorji Wangchuk National Referral Hospital, Dr. Tenchu Dorji, speak extensively on autism spectrum disorder from a physician's point of view. And today on this episode, we have other professionals who deal with the management of autism spectrum disorder, and they are the social workers and very crucial for early intervention for ASD. And today I have the good fortune of introducing you to some of the trailblazers who started socially to deal with autism spectrum disorder. We have the social workers, and now they will introduce themselves. Please go ahead, La. A warm welcome to our show.
Kuzampo. I'm Bedagiri. I am a mother of a child with Rett syndrome, but Rett syndrome, when I say, is about autism spectrum disorder before, but now they have, with the DSM-5, they have segregated many other disorders and conditions like Asperger's and other areas of condition. So before, I used to work in pediatric physiotherapy with children with disability, which was my passion. Yeah, and the good thing about hospital under MOH was when I founded Ability Bhutan Society, they have given me as an deputation to Ability Bhutan Society to establish ABS under the guardian and the patronage of Her Majesty the Gelson. And our ABS was inspired by His Majesty's vision about compassionate and just society.
Yes. And you were the executive director of the Ability Bhutan Society?
Yes, during the deputation from MOH, Ministry of Health, I was serving as an executive director for 8 years. Then now I am presently working as a technical advisor for Ability Bhutan Society.
That's wonderful. Thank you for the introduction, La. And we will go to your left now. Kuzampo, welcome to the show, La.
Kuzampo, La. I'm Vishnu Guru, and I'm a social worker working with children with disabilities at Ability Bhutan Society, La.
Yes. And what is your background? Have you trained for it?
I just had my bachelor degree in BSc Psychology. Then after joining at Ability Bhutan Society, I underwent ABA training at New York. Then after that, I came back, and still I'm learning from Australian Catholic University.
Lasla, wonderful to know. And what right appropriate backgrounds you have to start such a society like Ability Bhutan Society. And Madam Bedagiri, you started this society on a very personal note because your child was then on the autism spectrum disorder. So if you could kindly tell us the journey you had, you said that it was, you started earlier, which was not registered, but in 2007. So if you could just touch upon that journey, because it's inspiring us, those parents who have children with disabilities. You are an example of a parent who moved mountains, La. So if you could just...
thank you. As a mother, it's always, you have a mission, you have a vision, you have a dream to see your child like any other child. Yeah. But when you miss those opportunities and see the child in a different spectrum, it's always a big trauma for you, you will be lost at the moment. And when I realized that my daughter at the age of 2 years, that she had the normal milestones before. She was sitting, she was walking, but she has a difficulty in socializing, as well as she has a difficulty in speaking. So, but as a mother, I I had difficult time accepting my daughter has some delays. Although I am a professional in the medical background, and also my profession in the physiotherapy as well as in the pediatrics, but still as a mother it was difficult for me to accept that I had a daughter with disability. Then at 2 years of old, when she was 2 years old, I had to take her to India for the test because I was not knowing what is wrong with her. I was always dreaming that one day she will speak, one day she will talk, one day she will walk like others. But it never happened. So I requested a medical committee that if they can refer my daughter, because there was no diagnosis done. And
this is which time frame, ma'am?
It was 1998.
So quite early in Bhutan.
When she was 2 years old. Yeah. And then when I took her to CMCS Vellore, Christian Medical College and Hospital Vellore, they have done an MRI, and with the signs, the symptoms, what she has been, they have diagnosed her as in Rett syndrome, which is then spectrum, under the spectrum of autism. So since then, although it was already 2 years that I have not recognized her disability because I was in denial, and which every parent does it. That's how. And then when I came back, I started exploring about the other parents, Is there any parents? Why am I alone? I was thinking that I was the only one having a child with disability. So I came across many parents. I started talking to people, saying that, look, my daughter has these issues. Is there any families that I can make a family together, Yeah. So those areas came in mind, and then we started having a family support group programs, family, like talking to families, each other, and then we started having like informal trainings, capacity building within families to empower our children, empower ourselves, thinking that we are not alone. So we make like a small group.
How many group would you say? How many members in the group,
At the beginning, we had around 10 to 12
10
groups.
to 12,
yeah,
okay.
And we started around 2006-07 as an informal groups. And I have few of the doctors who has been helping me to set up, and they are parents as well, like Dr. Maruk and Dr. Kunjang. Yeah, they are also co-founder of Ability Bhutan Society, and like that we started bringing up, empowering ourselves, the families, and even bringing the children outside.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, because as long as the parent accept within ourselves, I felt it is a bigger step. Also, although there are lots of discrimination, there are lots of stigma, but still we parents felt that we need to bring up our children outside. Then that's how we started, and 2007 we started having a stronger group, that we started meeting regularly. We started talking about what to do next, because in the country we have limited resources. Although the government is doing so much for us, but still there are a lot of limitation on when we talk about children with disabilities, in the areas of disabilities. So what we did was we started thinking about why not we start a new entity. That's how we gave the name as Ability Bhutan Society, because for me personally, I felt more than the disability. I personally feel that we need to look into their abilities, our children's ability. Although they have lots of difficulties, but still they also are human beings. They have the feelings. So I always feel that let's empower them, let's bring them out, and let's see their ability and potential. That's how the Ability Bhutan Society is born, and we have a blessing from His Majesty and Her Majesty with the vision of His Majesty as Compassionate and Just Society. Then 2011 we got registered as a civil society organization, which is a big dream that came true, and it was a big
Because
mission.
now you have the legal leg as well.
Yes.
La.
And 2012, April 6, Her Majesty the Gelsen, as a patron of Ability Bhutan Society, inaugurated our organization, which is a big blessing for us, for our children and the families.
Such a beautiful story you narrated, La, with so much emotion, so much compassion. Thank you for that, La.
Since 2000, as we inaugurated ABS in 2012, since 2013, with the blessing of Her Majesty and the guidance of Her Majesty, we started lighting up blue.
The
And
major landmarks.
Yes,
Yes, La.
and which has really give us a big awareness, and the parents started coming up, and as of now we have a few children with disability, with autism spectrum disorder, who have been getting intervention, and once they are at ABS, we started giving intensive therapy for them, intervention with different strategies, depends upon individual child, which our social worker will be telling in after some time. And we also do the transition for our children, you know, because keeping only in ABS doesn't work, because the children has to grow further, they have to go into the community, they have to be independent. So we have those programs in place now.
Yes, La. We'll now bring in Vishnu Gurung here. So, you know, there are a lot of strategies that you can use to, you know, have children respond to you, so that you can start on this multiple domains that are affected, not affected, but multiple domains have to be looked into when you have to deal with children with the ASD, no, La. So could you tell us what are the strategies you use, La, as a social worker who, or a therapist who deal with children with autism, La?
To work with children with autism and other kinds of disabilities, like it is first of all, it's very important to have their daily routine, La. So from morning at the time they wake up till the time they go to their bed, it's very important, like what are the tasks that we want to give them, or what all are the things that we want to teach them, or what are the things that we want them to learn. It's very important, La. So the strategies that we use at Ability Bhutan Society is like we have daily routine for them, and then we do include different types of activities, like we focus on one-to-one socialization and how to manage their behavior, because like children with autism, they will be very sensitive, like even if there is a little noise, or if there even with the light and sound, they will get distracted very easily. So
Sensory challenges is
yes,
called.
sensory
Yes,
challenges,
yes,
and then so we need to be very mindful while working with them.
Yes.
So and then we also give them ABA, like one-to-one therapy intervention services.
Yes.
And like even while communicating, some of the children with autism, they can communicate using words, and some they don't use their word, like they just communicate by using their gestures, by like body language and all. So and for them we also need to develop some of the communication strategies, like developing visual communication strategies, like we need to develop communication books for them, like that.
Yes, because most parents imagine it to be intensive in the sense that you will be like maybe monitored to a machine or nothing like that. No, La. It's basically fun play, I think.
Yes.
I don't know, I could be wrong in that. Could you explain, like, what are the ways to get their attention and focus on them, La?
Yes, La. Children with all types of disability, they always learn through play, La.
Yes.
And even in our center, like we teach them through play and the area where they enjoy most,
Yes,
La.
La, yes.
And people, what they think is like when the children with autism, when they can't speak, they always think like they can't do anything. They will always think in that negative way. They will focus on like what are the things they can't do, and at Ability Bhutan Society, we don't focus on their weakness, we focus on their strength, and then we encourage them to learn more on what are their interested area. So we always make them fun, like even with the toys, when we select the toys for the children with autism, like we make the child to choose the toy, not the us. We pick toys and give it to the children, but we make the child to make their choice, and then we'll make it in a fun way, and so that children will also enjoy. At meanwhile, like we'll also be able to teach the child.
What kind of special toys then would parents need to invest in? Are there any?
In Thimphu, it's like the toys are available in the stores, but in remote areas, like in the villages, like if you go there, then the parents can't afford to buy the expensive toys, and it's not necessary to invest lots of money in the fancy toys, but we encourage the parents to develop their toys at their own home, like waste materials. Even the plates and cups can be their toys, like even they can put some pebbles or like beans and made seed inside the bottle and shake them. It will make us sound, and then it will be their play toys. Even with the waste clothes, they can wrap together and tie with the thread or sellotape and make a ball, and they can play with their child. So like there is no specific toys for the children, so anything that if we make in a fun way, then it will be always the toys for the child.
I'm glad you say that, because I feel like some parents will worry, like, we need to pick up this really expensive educational toys. Nothing like that. Just simple toys that give cause and effect is fine.
Yes,
I'm glad you said that. Thank you.
When you look into the child, as I mentioned, there's
Yes.
always, we need to look at the child as a whole.
Yes.
So when the child, my skills in pediatric physiotherapy is about physical therapy, positioning and all those things. Making the child how to sit and all those things. But again, that is required for all the child, almost all the child.
Yes.
And look, when we look into intervention in Ability Bhutan Society, we teach many other strategies like feeding. If the child cannot get independent feeding, or if the child is drooling so much, there are other strategies that we help the child and the parents to do it. And in that one, the positioning is very much required. Yeah, so that the child won't get choke, the child won't get drool, and it will be easier for child to swallow. So those are the areas that we do it. Again, making them upright, so that they can focus well. And they can look into the broader way, not only the narrow focusing. That is another way that we also look into it. Again, anything meaningfully done with the child, we have been intervening, and we have been actually integrating the therapy to the child and not looking into one aspect of the child.
There's this model called Applied Behavior
Analysis.
Analysis, like ABA. So you obviously use that.
Yes, we definitely use for some of the children. Yeah, it's not for all children.
Yes,
it depends, because every child needs a different intervention. So we use it according to the need of the child, and it is a structured program where Bishnu has been trained for 1 year in New York. So she has been leading that program.
Vishnu, you were trained in New York, so what kind of a contrast did you see there, or similarities when dealing with children with disabilities?
Like the center where I went to the training, like there they have a separate centers for the children with autism, but here in Bhutan we don't have such centers. Like we include all the children in our center, like all kinds of disabilities, they are welcomed in our center, and then we don't segregate them with their diagnosis. So we give our intervention services for all the children in the same classroom. But the way we do the intervention will be different for each child.
When you have this intervention strategies for children with all disabilities under one roof, does that take away from your, how much you can do, or having all children with disability, what is your focus like then?
It's like in one session, like in one classroom, like we keep a limited number of children, like for example, in one classroom we keep around 5 to 7 children in one session, and then we will have some supporter helping us in the classroom to manage and to work with children with disabilities. But it's like it's not like it's difficult for us to work when we include all the children in the one classroom, but it's like the way we do is different. Like for example, like even their age range will be different, like some will be young as 3 and some are even at the age of 12 and 13. So but the way we do intervention will be different for each child. So, through my work experience in Ability Bhutan Society so far, I have seen lots of improvement in children.
Really?
So even when they come for the intervention service for the first time, most of the children, they are not toilet trained. Starting from toilet training to the way they interact with their peers, and then the way they eat, even the way they share their toys and all, like they will show lots of improvement. Like we have to always give them reinforcement right after when we see there is some positive side when their child is showing, so we have to give them reinforcement immediately. So reinforcement is very important. When we see little progress in the child, it's very important to give them immediate reinforcement.
That's wonderful, because it's so much about what compassion is all about. You don't, like Dr. Chencho in the earlier episode said, parents always respond to negative, when the child is being naughty or something, and when the child is being good, I mean, we hardly take a notice to that. So it's nice that we now through our forum here will spread awareness that parents should look for kind words to say to children when they're being good, not only reacting so much to the bad behaviors. And children on the whole are very quick learners, I would say. Would you say these interventions, the earlier it starts, it's proven that the earlier it starts, the better it is, no?
Yes.
Because the children's mind are like flexible, they're like sponge, absorbs information. Madam Veda, have you seen such minds being expanded in your
early
society?
intervention is always very important. As early as we get diagnosis or the families recognize the child, identify the child, that the child has some limitation in their activities of daily living, communication or any of the areas, it's always better to intervene as early as possible. Below 5 years would be the best.
Below the age of 5?
Yes, age of 5 years will be the best approach to intervene as early intervention, because the children brain develops at those age as a rapid ones, and it helps the children to learn faster.
Nice.
Yeah, and also the intervention becomes more effective and meaningful for the children.
We'll take some questions from the audience now. The first one is, will a child be able to attend regular school? Will he or she need special assistance at school?
The child, if the intervention is given timely and as early as possible, yes, it depends upon the severity of the child as well.
Okay.
Some child can be independent in the mainstream, but some child needs a support, a little bit of support. Some need more support in the school settings.
Madam Vishnuguru, what do you think about the possibility of a child with disability attending regular school, where regular schedule is there? How would a child cope up then?
As Madam has mentioned, that if the child is given early intervention, the child will be able to go to mainstream school as well. But it depends on the child's strength as well. Like if he can do everything by himself, if he is independent, then he don't need any assistant in the classroom. But if he is dependent, then he needs some assistant in his classroom so that he can also learn equally with other children in the classroom.
Yes. And the second question is, it's about diet and daily activities. Are there any changes in diet or daily activities that can help remedy autistic behaviors?
Children with autism, some of them they have ADHD behavior, like
comorbidity.
Yes,
Okay.
they will be very hyperactive. They don't want to sit in one place. They want to go around a lot, and they want to explore everything. So for them, like, diet control is very important. We encourage them to control their diet, and especially like sugar content. We encourage their parents not to give the sugar content, because sugar will make them very hyperactive. And then if they control within a month or weeks, they will see a progress in their child. So even when they see such type of behavior, it's always important to get the advice from the specialist from the hospitals.
If Madam Vishnu Gurung could give us some of the crucial areas that parents can do easily, like as an early intervention, some of the things that you picked up from your training in New York, which is very practical and hands-on.
Yes. So even when the parents are feeding their child, like what parents in Bhutan does is, like, they will, due to their overprotection, they will feed their child with the spoon. They will feed their child. They are not giving the opportunity to the child to eat by themselves. So I would like to urge all the parents, like, let the child learn. If they don't know how to use the spoon and eat, let them use their hand, or parents can teach hand over hand. They can teach their child how to use the spoon through hand over hand, and let the child learn by themselves. Simple like that. Even while dressing and undressing, let the child learn by themselves, not the parents. They dress for their child every day. So it's important, like, we give the opportunity for child to do and learn by themselves.
This builds a sense of independence, like
Yes.
Madam Bedagiri was saying. You have to teach them a little bit of independence so that they can achieve things by themselves.
Yes.
And any other important things that we have missed out today, in form of therapy, in form of management, and in form of intervention.
For parents, for individuals as well, and the caregivers, we should not wait till we get diagnosis or something like that. Even the parents are the best, as I mentioned, to know their child. So any of the difficulties they see, identify in the child first 3 years of development age, they should be taken to the hospital, as well as they should start intervention, and they should look for support as early as possible, so that we can help child and the family together to be as independent as possible.
That's very, very timely advice.
And parents should not give up.
And not give up at all.
Yes.
So, like, even if their child is more than 6 years old, and if they are still not yet diagnosed, we always encourage them to go to the hospital and get diagnosis. And it does not mean that their child will not learn or not improve. They will definitely improve. So we just need time, extra time for them. So we encourage them to go to hospital, get diagnosed, and come to our center to avail our free service.
Thank you very much. Those are very timely advice and words of encouragement for any parents or caregivers out there with children with disabilities who see the red flags, which is like some of the symptoms of any delay in speech or delay in motor skills or sensory skills. So be sure to go to your pediatrician, voice out your concern, like Madam Bedagiri and Madam Vishnu Gurung said. It's early intervention is the key, because children need that kind of management, that kind of strategy, so that they can cope up and build up their skills. So with that, we wind up this episode of Dungso BBS, where we talked extensively with the social workers here, the founder of Ability Bhutan Society, the social worker at the Ability Bhutan Society, what they do and how they help children with disabilities. So I hope you've taken some key points from there, and we'll be back next week with Madam Bedagiri as well as Madam Vishnu Gurung to talk about families that cope with disabilities. As termed by WHO, it's a third-party disability. So we will focus on how parents and caregivers can really use the limited resources or any of the resources available in Bhutan to help yourselves and your children come out, through this very tiring testing time. So be sure to join us then. And from all of us here at the BBS, thank you very much for watching this episode of Dungsu BBS will be back next week with more discussion on autism, so do be sure to tune in.